Stephanie, it's great to have you on the podcast today. Doing?
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to connect with you.
No, you're welcome. It's great to have you on. And I just kind of thought I'd start by, introducing you and kind of talking about what you do because you're I can't even say now, intuitive, empath, psychic medium, and coach. And you're also an author, best-selling author on Amazon of the Happy Empath Workbook. And you've done another book as well called the Happy Empath's Little Book of Affirmations. And I thought I'd kind of ask how you kind of got into like spirituality and kind of personal development and this kind of like field.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So meditation was my gateway. I was living a really stressful life, like so many people are on this planet, especially, with 2020 and everything that happened last year. I was heavily guided to meditate. And the more I meditated, the more at peace I felt, the more balanced and centered I felt. I got sick. Back in 2016, I had a really bad kidney stone, and I ended up in bed for about 6 weeks as I was kind of battling this particular ailment. And while I was laying there, I just kind of was moved through the process of feeling. And the more I allowed myself to feel, the more I was guided towards meditation. The more I was meditating, the more everything just kind of opened up. And so the two books that you just mentioned, they came from my meditation. They were journals. The Happy Empaths Workbook, I just wrote down everything that I was experiencing during meditation and kind of realized that that was eventually what, kind of turned into that book. Same thing with my other book. I was writing down different mantras and affirmations for myself as I was kind of reprogramming myself over these past few years. And that kind of turned into that particular book as well. So meditation, if I can think of anything in particular, it was getting sick and really kind of coming back to a place of needing to find myself again. With myself.
No, I think it's great, what you're doing and like, those books that you've written and made, and it's amazing how you can have something going on, like, coming up for you, journaling, writing it down, and turning that into a book and providing value to other people. And I've always heard lots of people say, you need to write things down, you need to journal, have a diary. And I even saw.
I'm sorry about that. A lot of people get really cool ideas. And I always tell like my clients who I coach and other people who I talk to on other podcasts, I let them, you got to write your ideas down. They're divinely inspired. And so, that's how you kind of take action on where it is that you're meant to go, is you write everything down. And then when you do that, it gives you the opportunity to kind of come back later when you're not as busy to kind of look at what you're being guided to do.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. And I think like, I know a few people that I watch on YouTube. Like there's a comedian called Joey Diaz, and he's been through like a rough life. And he said, he just wrote stuff down in the journal, and he just kept on doing it and doing it and doing it. And now when he looks back, he can see where the times that he was going through in his life by looking at his journal and seeing how he's changed and where he is now. And I think it's so important to do. I mean, a lot of people don't do it, and I started just writing bits down in a notebook when I feel like I need to. And it's quite a reflective kind of cathartic process as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's times where I'll go back and I'll look at my meditation journals from 3-4 years ago, and I don't even recognize that girl anymore. That's just not who I am. That was the beginning of this person who you see today. And it's really cool. It's a very healing experience, like you were just talking about. And then there's times where I go back and I reference things that, I need to know now. And I go, oh, I know that's in my journal. And so I go back and I look at it. It's very, very cool. I encourage anyone to do it. You don't have to be a writer to do it.
It's awesome. And I find like as well, you must find it rewarding, like coaching people and helping people through, their difficulties and their challenges as well. And, seeing them shift and develop as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just talking to a client about this yesterday. When I was first guided to start Divine Soul Journey, which is my business, it didn't make any sense to me at all, and I was very reluctant to do it because it wasn't logical. My heart was pulling me in one direction, but my head was like, "Are you crazy? How is this gonna work out? How is this gonna pan out?" And so I remember sitting down and having a very, very strong conversation with the universe and God, and I was like, show me miracles. If this is what I am meant to do, prove it. Show me a miracle. And as I look back on that now, I find that my clients are the miracles because I've watched so many people shift from a fear-based mindset to a love-based mindset in a matter of a year, sometimes less. And it's amazing for me to get to see all of these people who are waking up across the world shift, heal their trauma, heal their patterns, move away from codependency, start believing in themselves again, trust in their intuitive abilities. I think I was telling you yesterday, I feel like everybody has psychic abilities on this planet. There is not one person on this planet who doesn't have intuition. And the more they choose love over fear, the stronger that becomes. And you just kind of watch them shift and grow. And it's such a beautiful process to watch. And so I was just telling a gal yesterday, I was like, you are my miracle. I thought my miracles were going to be something else. But every day I see miracles just by watching people's mindsets shift and change and perspectives change. Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. And I think it's like you said, those people that are your miracles. And I think like as well, they're on their journey, you're on your journey. And I think you can learn a lot, through, your clients and other people and, kind of be inspired by, what they're doing as well. Because, we can relate to them because they might be going through something that we probably was going through, or there was in a place that we once was. And, you're seeing them move through it.
Yeah. Well, you always tend to attract, and you're a healer in your own way. I was saying this to you yesterday. Healers tend to attract, or coaches, intuitives, we tend to attract people who are going through something that, we went through a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever it is, because that's what makes the best coaches. That's what makes the best healers, is the people who have been through it themselves. Right. So a lot of times coaches, authors, intuitives, we kind of tend to go through quite a bit early on in life, a little bit more than what the average Joe can go through. And, yesterday when I met you, I knew right away that you were an empath. I know that you're a sensitive soul. I can feel it. And it's a really strong gift to be a sensitive and to understand how to feel and to tune into your emotions and that type of energy, because that is how we help people. That is how we are able to align with our soul's journey. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think as well, as you mentioned, you pick up on that vibration and that energy with that other person. And I think when you're an empath, it's like a heightened frequency almost. It's like, a different level, if that makes sense. You're more, I think, aware of certain things. And you pick up on how people feel. And sometimes might even, I don't know if you do, but like sometimes you might take it personally and it might just be the other person, how they feel. And it's not you. That's what I used to get mixed up with.
Right. Absolutely. This is a great, I'm glad that you brought this up because this is a lot of what I talk with. I work with a lot of sensitive souls who feel as though their gifts are a curse. They're like, I'm tired of feeling all the time. I'm so sick of that. And I always tell them, you're giving away your power. You have to learn to create those healthier boundaries. You've got to learn how to understand what's your energy and what's not your energy. And that can really help so that you come from a place of feeling more empowered instead of disempowered. And yeah, it can be a little weird at first because you can feel like what you were saying about taking things personally. But once you start to realize that, most of the time when you're a sensitive soul, you're just a big mirror for people. And, whatever it is that they're sitting, flipping back at you or whatever it is, that's their stuff. And when you
Yeah.
can learn to shield that, and when you can learn to just be like, nah, I always use the example of Wonder Woman. She's
Yeah.
constantly doing this, right? And,
Yeah.
she doesn't let other people's energy or insecurities or projections and all that stuff affect her. When you can do that and you can go, you know what? Feeling's my superpower. And if that person doesn't serve me right now, that person doesn't serve me right now, or that situation, I'm not going to take it personally. I'm just going to go focus on, I'm going to do me. You'll start to notice that stuff dropping like flies all around you.
I think that's a really great point as well. And, having that balance with it and knowing how to kind of like use it and not be like overwhelmed. Because I think, like you said, it can be, overwhelming sometimes. And it's definitely, you see it as a gift and not kind of like seen it as a hindrance as well, isn't it? And
yeah. I personally feel like, and I like to use this as an analogy. Anyone can be a cold son of a bitch. That doesn't take any talent. To be able to feel, especially in our society today, where we've been, for thousands of years, we've been living in this patriarchal society where the head is in charge and we do whatever is most logical, right? But to feel and honor the wisdom of the heart, and then use this as the tool that it is to get us to align with where it is that we're meant to be, that's a superpower. And that's what empaths, that's what sensitive souls are here to do, is to teach people how to get into alignment with the heart.
Yeah.
That's why we've always felt so different. That's why we've always felt like we don't fit in, because we don't. We're here to create a new reality. We're here to create, new earth. We're, it's essentially, we're stepping into the age of Aquarius.
Yeah. So. There's definitely been like a lot of shifts. I mean, especially I think last year, as you said, like a lot of people kind of awakening and realizing a lot of things and seeing things, for what they are, and shifting and stepping into, these new realms, if that makes sense. And I definitely had it, as well. I had like a lot of shifts, and I did the podcast and stuff like that, and stepped into the unknown. And like, would you say, like, as empaths, we attract certain people and probably sometimes have certain relationships, like sometimes maybe narcissists be for people that empaths end up with narcissists, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Sometimes.
100%. I cover that in my first book. Narcissism is something that I'm very, very familiar with. And a lot of times there's this toxic attraction between an empath and a narcissist, because it has something to do with the wounded inner child that's in the empath. Empaths are healers. We like to try to fix people. We like to try to fix things. But a lot of times that cycle will keep repeating until the empath learns how to fix themselves and how to heal themselves, so that they no longer resonate with the toxicity of the narcissist, right? Because even if you get rid of the narcissist, that person will still show up again. Those traits will still show up again in another person. And so that cycle repeats itself. And, a lot of times the big lesson is that I try to teach my clients here is that not everything can be healed. And that's a big lesson. That's a smack in the face for a natural healer, for a sensitive soul, is that the relationship goal was to learn how to walk away, not fix it.
Yeah. No, that's so true. And that's something that I can definitely relate to. And I mean, I'm sure that, thousands, millions of people can relate to that as well. I think, like you said, it's that, noticing your energy and, what makes you happy. Because I think that's ultimately, the most important thing, isn't it? And I think in this world, like, more people are realizing what makes them happy, what doesn't make them happy, and what people don't want in their lives and what they do want. I think, this whole situation's kind of forced people to look at those kind of things, I think.
Oh, yeah. I personally feel like COVID, the pandemic, is divine intervention. It's forcing people to do the work that they need to do, that they've been ignoring. So it's forcing people to look at their relationships. It's forcing people to look at their money habits. It's forcing people to look at their life purpose. It's forcing people to look at their codependency issues. It's forcing people to do emotional work. It's challenging people's thought patterns, their perspectives, what they feel they are or are not capable of. And so, when the pandemic hit, I personally feel like divine intervention, it's also teaching us a massive lesson around that we are not separate. We're all one. We're all connected. And what a better way for the divine to come in and show us through a virus. We're all one. We're all connected. And everything that we do, whether it's on one side of the world or another, we affect one another.
Yeah. No, it's powerful, isn't it, when you think about it? And, it's definitely, like, yeah, we're on different parts of the world, but, there is this very deep, like, connection because we're all kind of in this together and all being affected, have all been affected or impacted it in some way.
Yeah.
So it draws people close together because I think we're not really designed to not be connected to people. We kind of need it as people.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a huge message that I teach people all the time, especially sensitive souls like yourself, is we're not separate from each other, and we're not separate from the divine. So these intuitive hits that you get from this deep sense of feeling, it's about feeling first and then acting. If you listen that and you honor that and you hone in on that wisdom of the heart, you'll get guidance every step of the way from your spiritual team. You won't question, you won't doubt. Or if you do, you'll be able to retrain yourself very quickly on, hey, no, I'm honoring this. I'm trusting this. Like I was saying to you before we started, I'm in a place on my own journey where I'm being asked to step up, to level up, and to walk by faith. And the more I do that and the more I honor who I am, I have opportunities to speak my truth. And I keep meeting opportunities for me to step into my power and, really change things and meet new souls all over the world. It's a cool experience.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think, we're all on our own journey. And I think like we have to, like you said, listen to what it is that's going on and tap into that and to, pursue that and listen to that. And I think a lot more people are doing that as well, like, going from one job that they don't like to trying something that they, that they do like. And I think I was talking to someone about it today, and it's like that being adaptable and pivoting in this situation, where you kind of have to, survive in some way. You have to adapt, and we're being forced to look at the things that matter and don't matter. I think as well, and it's definitely transformative. I mean, I just think everything in your life kind of happens for a reason, doesn't it? Both good and bad, and
all of it, all the stories. And that's something that happens when you start to honor your heart. You really are forced to kind of look at all the chapters. And when you look at all the chapters, I just made a post about this today on my Instagram. When you look at all the chapters, you start to realize that would you have been able to be the person you are today had that particular situation not happened? Had you not had that relationship? Would you be this stronger, more capable version of yourself if you didn't have to go through that trauma? And where I feel like a lot of people get caught up is that they stay in the woe is me or victim mentality. They stay in the anger. They stay in the sadness. They stay in the grief. And then what ends up happening is that they end up not having any clarity on where it is that they need to go. And that's because love and fear don't live in the same place. And spirit dwells in the vibration of love. So in order for you to get those hits so that you can move forward on your journey, you have to be up in a place of hope, faith, gratitude, contentment, freedom, joy. So anyways, I could go on about that forever.
Yeah. It's true though, isn't it? And it's how it works. And I think, like I mean, people fall out and things like that. And sometimes, I fell out with some people that I know, and it's like, I think being mindful, because sometimes we can react as people, and it's like, thinking to yourself, should I be reacting and going down to their level, and things
Absolutely
like that.
not.
And
Absolutely not.
yeah.
That's it's so funny that we're talking about all this today, because I was just talking with a client about so much of this yesterday. It's really interesting. Something that I teach my clients is that everything is energy. And it's been scientifically proven that love and fear don't live in the same place. So as an individual, when he or she begins to awaken and their heart begins to open, naturally their vibration rises. And so if they're growing and they're expanding and they have a more open heart, what ends up happening is if the people around them are not in that space, you may start to notice that people who have been in your life for 10, 15, 20 years, all of a sudden, you guys aren't vibrating at the same frequency anymore. You kind of have to go off on your journey and they kind of have to go off on their journey. And, who knows, you may meet again at a point when you guys are have gone through some growth, but it's a
Mm.
very normal process of the awakening path to what I like to say, shed layers.
Mm.
And it's a good thing. It actually shows that you're leveling up. It's what happens when you're leveling up. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you've noticed that as you get to another level, your soul family actually shows up for you to help you level up. And these are people who you
Yeah.
meet, and you're like, I feel like I've known you forever, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's something that I've definitely connected with, like especially last year and now. Uh, people that I've met, like, like yourself and people, all around the world. And like I said, you feel like you have known them all your life because that energy, that synergy, and you're on that same vibration where like you're on the same vibe. Your tribe of people, and I think I mentioned yesterday. When you haven't had that and you're trying to discover that, and you felt for so long that you don't really know where your tribe is, and when it does kind of like click, it's quite powerful, and that the people or the situations that you used to engage in, you don't really want to do that as much anymore.
Right. It doesn't serve you anymore. And it's because you're in a different consciousness. You've grown, you've
Mm.
matured, you've healed trauma. You no longer resonate with their vibration. Also, a lesson that I've been moved through, and it's a painful lesson. When you begin to grow, you may lose people who mean the world to you, or that have been in
Mm.
your life for forever, because you no longer fit into the box that they want to place you in. You
Mm.
know, they may have benefited from the old version of yourself.
Mm.
And so as you begin to grow,
Mm.
they could get angry, and they no longer want to, they want to throw their own stuff at you. So
Yeah.
earlier, it comes back to you being a big mirror for
Mm.
people. And they're
Mm.
either going to rise up to meet you, or unfortunately, they have to be gone. And when it
Mm.
comes to calling in your soul tribe, I tell people all the time, set intentions for yourself. How do you want to be treated? How do you want to feel? And I leave people with these two things. You want to be treated with an equal energy exchange, and you want to feel cherished.
Mm.
And that's the intention. And if those people who are around you don't meet that criteria, yeah, we go.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's so important, as you mentioned, and I think it's so important that we surround ourselves, with the right kinds of people, and the people that is going to support you, in your journey, as you said, because otherwise, if you're around certain people and they're being negative, they can easily drain you or stop you or pull you down. And
Right.
there's that quote, isn't there, where it's like, you become the five people you surround yourself with, or something like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the best thing to do in these situations is attack it with love. And they may not see it as love, but when you distance yourself, or you
Mm.
say, you know what, I'm going to go do me over here, or I'm going to set some boundaries. I love you very much. There,
Mm.
you could still end up losing those people, but you just send them love, you send them light, and you wish them the best,
Mm.
because you have something else over here that you're meant to experience, and you can't deny yourself that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, exactly. And I was thinking as well, like, do you have any like role models or like mentors, like now or growing up or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. I love Dr. Michael Beckwith.
Yeah.
I love Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Lisa Nichols. I am very much attracted to Greg Braden's work. I don't know if you've ever heard of Greg Braden. Those are all people, Dr. Joe Vitale, all people
I've heard
who,
of his name.
some of them are featured in, of course, the popular movie, The Secret.
Mm.
But I have been very much attracted to these people since my early 20s. And I never really understood why until I started coming into my own purpose. And it's because all of us are on a very similar mission.
Mm.
So yeah, I started thinking about it yesterday when you told me you were going to ask me this question. And I was like, oh, right away, Greg Braden, Dr.
Mm.
Michael Beckwith, Joe Dispenza, a couple of famous intuitives who I admire very much are John Edwards. A
Mm.
huge fan of Sylvia Brown, who passed away a long time ago, but she was ahead of her time. There's a lot of people like that who
Yeah. No,
Edward
exactly.
Casey. You know.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
think I think as you said, it's important to have role models and mentors in life, to have that those type of people you can draw from and take, goodness from and learn from as well. And like as you mentioned, like there's some people who are way ahead of their time. And there's a guy who I connected with who's called Alan Watts. Have you
Oh,
heard
I
of Alan
love
Watts?
Alan Watts. Of course, I follow Alan
Yeah,
Watts on IG and his teachings on YouTube. Absolutely.
yeah. And
Absolutely.
he was ahead of his time, and I think he's passed away now. But like his, the stuff that he was saying, was it back during the 60s or the 70s or something like that?
Yeah.
And what he's saying is happening now, and it's like, and the stuff that he says is so deep and real
Yeah.
that I think back then people didn't take him too seriously, if that makes
No, he was
sense.
considered
And
a hippie.
yeah,
But it's usually the hippies I find, or the free thinkers that are
yeah.
the ones that are labeled as the weirdos, but they're the ones that are the most in tune.
Mm,
And it's because they feel, they put their heart
yeah.
first, you know.
Have you heard of Jason Silver?
I have not.
Jason Silver's a bit like that. He's there are a few Jason Silvers out there, but this particular Jason Silver, I think he's like in his 30s, and he he's like a motivational speaker. He's done a lot of different things, but he kind of does these videos where he rants and he talks. But like you said, it comes from his heart, and he's quite hippie like ish like, and he's like one of those open kind of free thinkers. But it's you just said it's important, to listen to people that you kind of connect and vibe with, isn't it?
It's huge. It's huge because I know when I was growing up, even when I was kind of on this journey of self-discovery, early on, I
Mm,
always felt like a weirdo. It wasn't
mm,
until I got older and I started understanding that, I always felt so different because I am. And so to be able to find people who, seem to have the similar mission as you, or, have been on the journey for a while, it inspires you to keep going. It
mm,
inspires you to understand that, okay, I am meant to be doing this and I want to achieve more because they're showing me that it's possible. If she can do it, I can do it. If he can do it, I can do it.
mm.
It's a very important thing to have role models.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And like you said, like, feeling different as well. Like, I definitely connect with that, and always felt that, as a kid and in school, and hanging around with the wrong people and getting
Mhm.
involved and things like that, and
Right.
people pleasing, and yeah, but deep
That's
down, I
something,
knew. Mm,
that's something that sensitive souls typically do. We are very much drawn towards drugs, alcohol, overeating, anything that can numb us because we feel so much that we get to a point when we're unbalanced and we're giving our power away. Until we learn to find our balance again, we will do whatever we can to numb the feels because we just want it to go away.
mm.
Mhm.
It can be quite damaging, can't it, if people don't address that? Do you think? If they don't address, they're not mindful of that,
Absolutely.
and I think it takes you have to decide, don't you, as a person, to change and to notice that, because I think it's not just an effect on yourself, is it? It's effect on your friends, your family, all these different things. It all kind of connects.
All of it. Yeah, absolutely. And it can be hard. That's what is called shadow work, facing your
Mm,
shadow and owning your shit, owning your
mm,
garbage, which is a big part of the awakening path. When you start to go through the awakening process, whether it's losing a relationship or moving out of a relationship that didn't serve you, you're faced to look at all the stuff that they taught you. And you have to own your shit. You have to own your garbage, which is, for me, I was scared to speak my truth. I was scared to
mm,
stand in my authenticity. I was battling codependent behaviors. I cared
mm,
more about what other people thought of me versus what I thought of me, because I was trained and conditioned to believe that that's the way it was, you
mm,
know? And so
mm,
I had to look at a lot of my behaviors. And I feel like that's something that we continually do as we level up. Every level, we have to go through shadow work.
mm. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
definitely. And it's quite transformative, isn't it? When you break it down like that, and I can definitely relate to that because like in the past, I was with someone who, uh, if I was to make a decision for myself or something that I wanted to do, that it's like that wasn't okay, and it's like it shouldn't work like that. But people can get. Problem is, some people think it's going to change or things are going to work out, and it's like, well, no, it's going to keep happening. Still, you have to, as you
Patterns
said,
of
get
care. the pattern will repeat itself again and again and again until you finally open your eyes and see the lesson. So, and that, again, that, that person who you were with and you guys were just battling what was really going on, with the little boy in you and the child within them. That's really all that it was you guys were going through your own childhood trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Because like in life, no one gives you like an instruction manual, like, oh, here you go. This is how you need to.
I beg to differ with you on that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why. Your emotions are the map.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point.
When you're happy, it means that you're in alignment. When you're not happy, you're not in alignment with what's meant for you. The problem is that we are addicted to our patterns. We are addicted to our trauma. We don't want to let go of our attachments to people, places, things, or the idea of what we think things should be. And so that's what keeps us caught up in these relationships or in these patterns with career or whatever else, friendships that don't serve us, right? It all comes down to we're not willing to listen to our emotions, because when we listen to our emotions, we find clarity. And when we find clarity, it means we have to do work.
Yeah. No, that's true. You're right. And I think it's like a compass, isn't it? It's like your emotions are a compass, and they're your guide. And I think when you listen to those, you'll go in the right way. But it's like you said, when you don't, we don't listen to those, it's just going to bite you later on.
100%.
And like I got another question as well. As I told you yesterday, is that it's kind of a new question that I've only asked a few people, and it's, if you could have a meal around a table with, like, say, 3 people, who would they be? If the people that are alive, if you could pick 3 people.
Oh, I immediately went to people who were not alive.
Well, you can do it if you can't think of anyone who's alive, then you can pick people who you want.
Okay, so one of my main is, obviously he's not alive anymore, and it would be JC. It'd be Jesus Christ, because he understood the wisdom of the heart. He went through the ascension process. People who are alive, Michael Beckwith, no doubt about it.
He's amazing. He's an amazing guy.
He is incredible. He understands what this place is. He really does. Another one would probably be Greg Braden.
What does he do?
Greg Braden is an author. He has really been able to bridge the gap between science and spirituality.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, when you think about it? Because if you could, like, sit around a table with 3 people, it'd be, imagine the conversations you have and the things you talk about and the things you learn as well.
Absolutely. And that's one of the biggest things that I've tried to do on my own journey. When you start to go on into the awakening path, it's like the rabbit hole. It's ever unfolding. It's like Alice in Wonderland. I try to keep myself open as much as I can and be open-minded. And I'm always willing to learn. I'm always willing to level up. I'm sure you found yourself in that kind of position over the last few years too, is that whomever you meet, somebody can teach you something. Everyone can teach you multiple things or one thing. And it's important to keep yourself open in that way.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I've definitely learned a lot, like listening, to Joe Rogan and his podcast and some of the things that he says. I mean, everyone, some people might not agree with that, but for me, I think, he's had certain experiences and he's come from a place, where he's worked in crap jobs and he's worked his way up and he's tried things out. And and it's important to have those selected people who you can kind of look up to, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I was thinking as well, like, do you have any kind of favorite books that you've read?
Oh man, I've read a lot of books. One of my favorites is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I also really, really love Wisdom Codes by Greg Braden.
I've seen that. I've not read it, but I've seen it.
Yeah. Gosh, that's a loaded question. I have a lot of favorite books.
Top 5 or top 10 or whatever.
Top 5. So Wisdom Codes, Power of Now. It's another one that I've recently read. I'm gonna throw mine in there, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, it's, of course, now you ask me and I'm drawing a blank of a few.
It's fine. I can always put them in the description if you can't
Yeah,
think of
put
them
them
all. It's
in
fine.
the, I'll think
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
because there's a couple here. One of my most, it's not even that big of a book that I had to read when I first moved through my initial awakening was a book
Yeah.
called Fight On.
Right.
And it was a book that really, very, very short messages and mantras that helped me keep going despite what everyone else around me was saying. I kind of had to rebuild myself and learn how to trust my own intuition.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone should have it. It's like a coffee table style book. And I feel
Yeah.
like everyone should have it who's being moved through an awakening. Fight On.
Yeah. No,
It's a
that's
good one.
awesome. And
Yeah.
I think in books you learn so much, and I think in the past year or so I've just got into reading more, and trying to read every day. Like I think I missed out on reading last night, but I try and do at least before I go to bed a couple of pages, or just try and get into the routine of doing it more. And I've got tons of books as well. And it's funny, before we started this call, I was talking about your book, and I ended up, like, you didn't realize it was in Waterstones, a shop in the UK, but
I have no idea. Yeah.
and I actually picked up your book for like I had it in my hand for like 20 minutes, and I was going to get it, and then I was looking around, my brother was getting different books, and I took a photograph of it, and I was like, I'm going to get this, and it stood out to me, and it's surreal how we've ended up doing this podcast.
Yeah, I love it. It really does show, again, like I was saying to you earlier, when you become an energetic match and you open yourself up to new experiences, it's amazing the type of people, places, and scenarios that you can draw into yourself. It's incredible.
It's definitely amazing, and I find, like, as well, like when you open yourself up to that, you connect with certain people, on that same wavelength as you, that same kind of journey as well. And they might know people who similar, and it just kind of ripples, isn't it, really?
Yeah, because again, everything is energy. So when I find that I open myself up, I find even more people who are on a similar journey as me. And that's how you find your soul tribe.
It's so important. I think everyone should do that, because I say to people, if you're interested in gardening or video games, whatever it is, or pottery or something, there's going to be people out there who are going to be in that same vibe, that enjoy that stuff as well, or and whatever it is. And it's like, especially with the field of kind of wearing, like, personal development and like mindset and things like that, and spirituality, you're going to attract those kind of people in that circle almost.
Yeah.
Would you say you have you had any kind of like feedback from your book? Like, I'm sure it's pretty rewarding, seeing people's reviews and how your books help them.
It is. It's one of my favorite things to do. I'll tell you a little guilty pleasure. I love to go on Amazon and read what people are saying about my book.
Yeah.
So for anybody who has left me a review, if you hear this podcast, I have read every single review that has been left, and it means the world to me, because I went through a lot to be able to write. My story is, you can't make this shit up. I'll just say that. Okay.
Yeah.
And to see that my book has helped people take back their power, or trust in themselves more, or choose love over fear, or trust in their intuitive abilities, it's amazing. It's such an incredible feeling, and it means the world to me, knowing that my life has purpose in that way. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think, like, as well, I don't know if you knew this, but I think the US Amazon, your book, the reviews on there are like just for the US one. So I mean, on the UK one, you're going to have even more reviews and comments and everything
I've never
as well.
even looked at the UK one. I totally should. I've never done that.
Yeah, because I had a a guy who wrote a book, and he was on my podcast, and he said that he was thanking, you know, the UK people as well, because it's you. Yeah, so basically, you got the UK Amazon, you got the US. So the people who commented on the UK one will be like, you know, your UK, and then the US. It's so it's pretty amazing, pretty awesome.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah, so no, it'd be interesting, you know, what other people are saying as well.
Yeah, it's a very cool experience, you know, and I get a lot of people on Instagram and a lot of emails, you know, because of your book this or because of your book that. And, you know, in the beginning, it was a little hard to handle. It was a little bit like, you know, you get a little nervous. You know, one of my biggest fears was being seen and being heard. And that comes from childhood wounding. You know, I was always taught to be quiet and that I didn't matter. And then coming out and being brave enough to speak your truth, especially around what I do. I'm a psychic medium, I'm an intuitive empath and mindset coach. I challenge people's perspectives and thought patterns every day. It was a little nerve-wracking for me. So waiting a year or two to see these reviews come in and some of these things come in, it's been a very validating experience for my journey.
Yeah. No, I think it's great work what you're doing, and you know, you're welcome, and you know, providing value to other people through, you know, coaching and you know, your energy work and, you know, your book as well. I think, you know, you're living your purpose, and you know, you're on your journey, and you're doing something that you care about, and it's really, you know, touching, you know, talking to you about these things, because I think it's really, really special, and I think it's something that we should all tap into and do, you know, because we're all here for a reason, and you know, we're here to help other people and provide something, you know.
Absolutely. Earth is nothing but a big school. That's something that, you know, anybody who follows me, I say that again and again. This place is nothing but a big school. We've been here before, and we come here to learn lessons, to grow, to evolve. And anyone who you feel a strong emotion for, whether it's positive or whether it's negative, odds are they're a member of your soul family who has come here to teach you something for your highest good. And when you can look at the connections like that, you realize that it's all love. From a higher perspective, it's all love. You wouldn't have been able to learn how to love yourself more had it not been for that narcissist. You wouldn't have learned how to empower yourself had it not been for the person who, you know, knocked you down. You know, you can really get yourself into a place to go, okay, what's the lesson here? You really start to realize, like I was saying earlier, all the chapters kind of start to make sense. You know, you started this podcast because of experiences that you've had in your life. You probably wouldn't be this version, or like you wouldn't be this version of yourself that you are today had you not been through some serious pain and heartache. You know?
Yeah. No, definitely. It's powerful, isn't it? And I think, like, sometimes, you know, we're not aware of that, and then sometimes when things come like full circle, it all kind of like clicks, and you're like, oh yeah, it is because of XYZ and XYZ and everything else. No, it's awesome, isn't it? And I was thinking, where can people find you on like social media and like website, that kind of thing?
So my website is just divinesouljourney.net. And I'm pretty active on IG. Man, I've really let my Facebook go. It's a boring platform to me, unfortunately. But I am on Facebook. It's just not nearly as active, but IG is where I am. So it's just at Divine Soul Journey. You know, I try to post as much as I can there, and but divinesouljourney.net.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And you know, I'll definitely share your book and your content, and you know, any new stuff that you put out there, I'll definitely promote it. And you know, I wish you all the best and continued success in your book and your work and everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much. It's been such an honor. I love that I get to connect with you.
No, you're welcome, and I'm grateful, and you know, it's an honor to connect with you as well. And it's really, you know, special to tap into, you know, these conversations and things, isn't it? I'm really grateful, and I appreciate it.
I love it. Very divine.
Yeah. No, that's it. But you know, I wish you all the best, and have a great day. You're welcome.